First of all, thanks to the Deputy Regional Minister for having given me this opportunity to talk to you. And what I'm going to try to do is to try to talk about how the vocational training sector in the Basque country can help innovation SMEs in the Basque industrial sector. I'm going to take about half an hour. I'm going to talk about how Basque SMEs innovate, the context for the type of innovation that SMEs in the Basque country make. I'll talk about the history and the innovation practices being developed today in the VAT system, and then I'll say a little bit more about Asmaola Plus, which is a project I want to tell you about. And lastly, I'll set a challenge out there and a proposal to the whole of our VET system. My idea is to be as practical as possible in this presentation. I'm not going to be academic, but more practical. And my presentation is going to be action-based. After listening to Jorge yesterday, I didn't know we were Templar Knights. Actually, I thought we were just a group of activists here, because what we're going to tell you about today are actions that we feel and we've seen that can be practical and can help us gain knowledge. So I'm going to look first at how Basque industrial SMEs innovate. To do so, what we need to do is to look at a few characteristics of Basque SMEs. And here you can see the percentage in the GDP that comes from industry in the Basque country. These are Eustat 2012 figures, and we're talking here about 21.3% of GDP coming from industry, which means that we're more similar to Germany in that regard rather than the rest of Spain. In the rest of Spain, only 15.9% of GDP comes from industry. And also, why don't you have a look at 7.9%, which is mechanical manufacturing. What I'm talking here about is metallurgy and the building of machinery and equipment. That's how important this sector is in the Basque country. As for employment, 49.7% of jobs in the Basque country in the industrial sector is in mechanical manufacturing. And there are over 12,900 companies working in this sector. Let's look at the type of company that we have here. Well, you can see perhaps three important things from this graph. On the pie chart on the left, you can see that 86.6% of our companies, of our industrial companies, have fewer than 20 workers in them. And on the right pie chart, you can see where the jobs are concentrated. They are concentrated in those companies that have between 20 and 250 workers. So we're talking here about small companies. And what about R&D expenditure by those companies that do carry out R&D? The green line in the graph, which represents the Basque country, shows that 2.2% of GDP is spent on R&D, which in 2010 was greater than the EU average, and of course greater than the Spanish average, almost double the Spanish average. Let's now look at what companies who do innovation spend on. What kind of innovation do they spend on? Most of that innovation and R&D is internal, which means that the people that work at the company are carrying out innovation. They don't use any external help. And it's basically innovation on purchasing machinery and equipment. That helps us perhaps characterize the kind of innovation in Basque SMEs. The data that I showed previously show that SMEs, when they innovate, what they want is practical knowledge and tacit knowledge, and they cooperate a lot with the people that are in their company. So it's internal expenditures. So they get a lot of knowledge from companies in the district. And this is something that we saw from the first speech. There's a need for greater skills in our industry, and that can be acquired through innovation. Innovation is also in our companies reactive. It's like a reply to the changing circumstances of the surroundings. It's not actually something that's part of a long-term planned strategy. Our SMEs have limited funding and limited staff and a lack of time on many occasions. Many small companies find it difficult to distance themselves from their own production process and look at what else they could do. A lack of knowledge also means it's difficult sometimes for them to find knowledge outside and connect up with other technological centers. And what's more, cooperation networks of SMEs are actually usually part of their value chain. So they usually contact their customers and suppliers. So that's good if an SME has a good customer, because that customer is going to drive the SME along. And yet ties with universities or R&D institutes are far more limited. And what's more, the density of much of the innovation system in the Basque Country, it doesn't reach out, doesn't actually somehow get into contact with SMEs in the Basque Country. And it's a shame, because much of this has appropriate methodology, and yet 70% of the SMEs in the Basque Country are not in what we would call the formal innovation system. And all of this means that as we have an economy that's very much industry and mechanical manufacturing centered, with small companies, provides us with a great many opportunities for the VET system here in the Basque Country. Because we can see that SMEs have technological needs, but not necessarily the need to create new things. More, what they need is small-scale innovation. They're not so needy of great major discoveries or breakthroughs, and that's where VET can help. Our vocational training system can help the economic development of our small and medium-sized enterprise. That's thanks to the close relationship that we have with many of them. Many SMEs trust us, have shared values with us, share the same networks, and all of this can help accelerate the transfer of knowledge and the development of new knowledge. However, on many occasions, the downside to this is their communication problems. But we are near to SMEs. Vocational training centers can actually even act as go-betweens between new knowledge creators and institutions and those that are going to use this knowledge. Jorge this morning asked me to try to clarify what we actually want to do. We're not thinking here about researching, but what we do want is that the development that's required by small and medium companies can then can be transferred to those SMEs that aren't into contact with our innovation system. Perhaps I could give you an example of that from the past. If you look back into the 1980s, when CNC came to much of our industry, that was a major leap forward at the time, because it meant moving from sort of craft manufacturing to computer-based manufacturing, which led to greater abstraction skills. And it's interesting how we'd go about things in the Basque Country. At that time, I'd have said we gave thousands of hours of continuous training so that the companies that we have here could train their workers in CNC techniques. And so we were actually able to adopt those technologies very quickly in the Basque Country. To a lesser extent, we can also say that other technologies have been taken on board, such as CAD, CAM. So we in VET have, to a certain extent, facilitated the adoption of technologies by small and medium-sized enterprises. They've been able to send their workers to us, get them trained, invest in that, and become updated. So these common practices in innovative companies, why don't we transfer them to small companies? So relationships between vocational training centers and companies can generate competitive environments of a high added value for the immediate future. I'm now going to talk to you a little bit about a series of practices, some from the past and some which are current, which are going to be the cornerstone of the challenge and what we're proposing to do. But before doing so, I ought to refer to what's helped us. And I need to refer back to the vocational training plans that time and time again have encouraged vocational training centers to cooperate with companies and vice versa. There's also been a great deal of investment in vocational training. Much of the equipment that we use is very much updated. Maybe we don't have the best equipment from cutting-edge companies, but we're still up there at the head of the pack. We've also introduced quality systems and driven and launched the creation of what we call comprehensive vocational training centers, which means that we offer basic vocational training, continuous training for companies and other services, and we help in entrepreneurial drive. So we're there developing, and we've even helped many companies get an international foothold. We've also created support structures such as Technica, which many of you have visited. And the most developed or most advanced vocational training centers have developed specific structures to connect us up with private businesses, and that gives us all kinds of possibilities of cooperating with them. Another thing which isn't on the slide is the fact that we as vocational training centers work as a network together. We're able amongst ourselves to share knowledge. All of these factors have made it easier to move ahead, and thanks to all of that, it's been possible. And in this graph, you can see how we relate the degree of complexity for a vocational training center on the one hand, and the value contribution for companies on the vertical axis. And you go from like informal advice, i.e. when students come and ask us questions, through continuous training courses, which of course helps us relate to companies, which brings us nearer to the reality of what companies are asking for. And we sometimes even allow private companies to use our machinery for measurements or for whatever they may need. We can also advise them, and we also organize events to disseminate information. We all do that, in which we can demonstrate machining techniques or other elements. We offer written information, and that ends up with innovation and development projects. So that's that, like, upscaling and the increasing importance of what's done. Giving you now some more specific examples. Of course, I need to talk about Technica and how between 2005 and 2013, many vocational training centers have shared innovation projects with companies thanks to Technica, and in this way provide efficient replies to companies. And currently, our projects are being developed independently by our companies. You've probably seen that in the visits that you've carried out. Of course, always with the support of Technica, because now Technica is very much involved in complex projects, these projects that help us look towards new markets and generate new activities. I also ought to mention the ZRBA experience and Goikerian DNFs, all of which over recent years have helped vocational training centers offer greater services to companies, providing them with technical solutions to problems, advising them, helping them implement quality. Here I've also got the logo of the Ministry of Education and the European Union. It's interesting here because 3 years ago there was a program to promote innovation programs from the Education Ministry, and the Basque centers participated in 67 of the 170 programs that were presented at that time by the Ministry of Education. So it just goes to show how prepared we are to get involved in innovation. And we're also very proud of having participated in European projects, some of which were very closely related to SMEs. There are more cases than that. That include company creation projects and everything that's been done in the Goyeri area regarding the inclusion of quality programs. And please allow me now to just say something about our Asmola Plus project, which is an experience that's already up and running. Asmola Plus, what it is a strategic alliance of vocational training centers to encourage innovation in SMEs. So, it's a vocational training center alliance. I want to make that clear because Basque technology centers have an alliance, for example, Technalia and others, but we are vocational training centers. We've got our alliance, and we are developing innovation and transferring knowledge. Who forms part of that alliance? Well, the people that you can see up on the screen. And our aim is to develop innovation projects, help introduce new processes and manufacturing technologies. We've been working now for 4 years, and our aim is to get 250 projects of this kind, of which 80 should have a certain level of innovation. That is, innovation that's recognized because of its competitive edge, or recognized by the departments or institutions to whom we present our projects. Another important objective is advanced training, not just for students, but for teachers and people who are already at work. our idea is to develop 30 new courses.
And to generate knowledge that will be applied at the initial training and training for employment. The third objective is industrial entrepreneurship, and to create a space to test the viability of projects in terms of industrial entrepreneurship. It's very difficult, but it requires a lot of investment and equipment, and we are generating the spaces in order to develop this, and we are taking the first steps, and so that industrial companies can start to carry out activities in this direction. And we've set up a business ideas contest, is Asmaola Plus, and it's industrial based, and I encourage you to participate in this contest, and the deadline is June the 15th. And last but not least, we have the technological advisor teacher. This is a key person, and maybe in 4 years' time, 10% or 20% of teachers are going to have this profile. Teachers that are able to talk directly to the SMEs, because they know the problems and they know how to solve problems. And they are teachers. On top of that, they have incorporated knowledge, and they're able to raise the level, and they're going to ensure that we are at the highest skill level, what Aguilar was talking about, and this is what industry is demanding. This teacher profile that combines both pillars, and we think that it's key. We should, in each of our centers, we should have 4 teachers with this profile. Asmaola works with different centers, and we do networking, and we link centers that are complementary, and we share skills at different sectors. We share tools, we share outcomes, we share marketing offers, dissemination, and how we charge, and we invoice, and each center captures projects from the context. We share solutions in order to convey these solutions to the different centers. In a way, we are increasing the impact. Maybe that's something it's been they found a solution in one center. Maybe it could be useful for another center. If sometimes we resort to technological centers, they are going to provide knowledge. We are going to provide them operational aspects, so to speak, and we want to improve the relationship between technological centers and us. We disseminate knowledge, experiences, we train collaborators, and we organize technical sessions. We have a very good relationship with engineering companies. We don't want to have hostages. The idea is to resolve complex problems. We have a managing board made up of managers that meet on a monthly basis, and then we have committee meetings with different coordinators. So in the first picture that we saw at the beginning of my presentation, it was the rollout of the project at the beginning of this year. The idea, we got together it was the kickoff meeting, so to speak. And I'm going to give you some examples, some of the services that we are developing and providing so that you know what we are doing. We are carrying out simulations and optimizations of manufacturing processes. We are manufacturing and testing prototypes. We are analyzing materials. We are improving products. We are carrying out design proposals, automatization proposals. We are testing industrialization with pre-manufacturing series. Many times, SMEs find that the owners are the responsible for the process, and they are completely involved, and we cannot take him out, so to speak. So to develop ideas with them that can help us and can help them. Automatization proposals, testing, industrialization, structural analysis. And now I'm going to give you some examples, some practical examples. We were, in this case, analyzing a foundry tool that had a lot of wear problems, and the automobile industry has a turnaround of 17 billion euros, and many of these work in this sector, so they need to fine-tune their process. The fact of investing in tools, so costs, it plays a very important role. So in this case, we're simulating finite elements and the casting base by looking at the previous processes and the results that had a direct impact, and by applying this study to other parts that are using the same process. And by doing this study, we've drawn conclusions that have allowed clients to increase the part life cycle. And this is very important for them. We're talking about machines that have 3 shifts, work in 3 shifts mode. I.e. 24 hours. You have more examples there on the screen. There's a part that's a pre-series for an injector, a cast injector, and we've had to certify this part for an automobile manufacturer. So there's a company that has been able to tender and has had a very good order, a very large order. There's a test bank to analyze tools, prototype analysis. We see a little tray for water meters, and the idea was to manufacture some tools in a different manner, some parts in a completely different manner. There you have a drill bit to cut cartridges. There's a design and manufacturing of an automatized production line. The previous speaker talked about the fact that she was surprised of new products that were developed. And there on the right, that you seem to be, it seems strange. This is fiberglass. The idea is to machine this fiberglass, which is cladding a cooling unit on the particle acceleration in Switzerland. And this company could not apply to this, could not tender, and the idea, we managed to reduce that tender price to half of its cost. So that made a company which was very much based in the automobile sector to machine using a different material and doing it with a certain level of guarantee. And these are some of the advantages we get by doing these projects. the excellence level in terms of teachers. This allows them to ensure the level of training, and the problem is not the level, but using a more sophisticated equipment, and teachers know how to use those equipments. So the idea in terms of how we can develop it internally, updating training manuals is more dynamic, optimizing equipments, and the performance we get out of these equipments is greater now. And the trust and the fidelity that it's generated, or the loyalty that is generated from those projects, so that makes those SMEs carry on working with us, because these SMEs want to access other markets, and as I said, they didn't have enough time. And then economic and material resources, depending on the added value. This can be very interesting, especially in crisis situation. Continuous training allow us to have specific incomes that allow us to be able to go abroad, to visit centers, to visit companies, and this generated a very interesting dynamic. Maybe at the midterm, maybe we can have another source of income, which is going to be very important, especially in current times. Then we have the virtuous cycle whenever we need to troubleshoot. We have teachers that are troubleshooting, and they are making knowledge practical, and this knowledge is putting to the manuals and is allow us to go a step further and solve problems that are more complex, and so on and so forth. So there's a very good opportunity to automatize the way we acquire knowledge. And in this process, there is an empirical proof or evidence. This is not an academic presentation, but is an empirical presentation. VET can have an impact on SME that are outside innovation, so to speak, which is over 60% of companies. And just to finish, we have a proposal for the Basque VET. And based on the previous conclusion, according to our experiences and according to Asmaola Plus, the VET system can have an impact on an SME innovation. So we suggest a challenge for the Basque government. We need to articulate the applied innovation in an VET system, and this is what Jorge talked about, to give it a structure. And this is a challenge that applies to all the VET system. We need to be bridges between companies and the R+D structures. For this, we need to fulfill a mission. And in our strategic design, we specify training. We need to participate with the SMEs. This has got to be at the forefront. We need to transfer knowledge to SMEs and taking into account productive environment. I think that we are playing this role, but I think we can improve this. There are centers that have a very school-based philosophy, and community colleges, Australian centres, more multi-purpose centres, multifunctional, so to speak. So there, I think that we should learn from them, and we have to develop a bit further. That's why we need to set up networks of centres that share the same initiatives in terms of supporting SMEs and local governments, regional governments. We need to share this support, as we've done with the quality managers or continuous training managers. They have to work in the same direction, and one is doing innovation. So we're doing both innovation and teaching. In the university, they do developments, they do research, and they teach. Why not can we do it at the VET level? We can encourage collaboration activities among institutions and the associated centers. So we are in a very clear track, and we've seen many examples, but what we need to mark this track, and we need to put signs on this track, and we need a path. We don't need a landing strip. We need a takeoff strip. We need to take off. We mustn't land. So this proposal was already included in Jorge's presentation, is to include this proposal in the fourth Basque plan in terms of VET. Different departments need to work together in a cross-functional manner. It needs to be led by the VET department. It includes specific programs, budgets from different departments. So by doing this, we are going to work on the right direction. It needs to be aligned with the smart specialization strategy in the Basque country, and aligned with the industry plan 14 to 16. And we need to define contents and commitments. Then the PCTI 2020, one of the goals is to increase the innovative SMEs. That's one of the goals. So there we can see what's the path that we need to follow. For this, we need a strategic leadership from centers. If we want it to be part of a mission, we need to do it with enthusiasm. We need to network, so we have this multiplying effect. These are 4-yearly based plans, and with shared commitments. Institutions, departments get involved, but centers also get involved. And these proposals need to be supported by the companies that are most dynamic, and the common practices among companies, and sometimes they are, at least they're emergent in our case, we can convey them and transfer them. And this would be the end of my presentation. I would like to take the opportunity to thank you. And talking about templates and actions, we have people and collaborators from the University of Basque Country, from Eneka Albizu, Albazaran, and orchestra, and the Miquel Navarro team, and they are helping us to put things in context from a scientific point of view. And I think that this is also an important support, because I think that we are working the practical side very well, but we also need the theoretical sometimes. So this is the itinerary I follow to give traits about innovation in Basque SMEs context. We've looked into Asmaola and how the system can have an impact on the SMEs, and to articulate this. Thank you very much. Well, in the first picture, we saw the initial group, and there you have a picture of teachers and technological experts that met last week. Thank you very much.